What's up guys, my name is Ace, and the Season 1 update is here for Modern Warfare 2, and also of course Warzone 2 and DMZ have launched. However, in today's video, we're just going to be covering the changes to Modern Warfare 2's multiplayer, aside from the weapon changes. Now, I started working on the weapon change video, I've collected a bunch of the data, since this is an Infinity Ward Call of Duty game, and we're never going to get detailed stats for that, they're just going to give us vague descriptions. But unfortunately, this update broke quite a few things, including my ability to get multiple accounts into the same custom match even, and therefore when it comes to a bunch of the weapon balancing stuff, I literally can't test it at this stage. I'm hoping they'll get those worked out soon so I can get that video out to you guys, but until then, I'm just going to cover all of the new features that came with this update, as well as a bunch of non-weapon balancing changes that I'm able to discuss with you guys. But let's just dive right into this and start it off with the weapons that are available. We've got the M13B, which can only be unlocked currently in the DMZ mode, or you can buy it through a store bundle, which I'm not particularly happy about. I think you should be able to unlock the base version of any gun in any regular mode in the game. I don't think you should have to download and play DMZ just to get the M13B for Modern Warfare 2's multiplayer, especially since that's a game you paid for. Why should I have to play a free-to-play game in order to unlock gameplay content for the game that I paid for? Doesn't make much sense to me. It's not the end of the world. I really don't mind going in and checking out DMZ to get that, but I just hope this isn't something we can expect to see season after season going forward. But on top of that, for SMGs, we have the BASP, or the SIG MPX, as well as the Victus XMR sniper rifle, and these are earned through the Battle Pass in the game. Speaking of which, we do have a new Battle Pass system, and it's not a linear system like we're used to with recent years of Call of Duty. Instead, you sort of pick the path that you want to take in order to get the items that you want first, which I guess is kind of interesting, but honestly doesn't change a whole lot in my opinion. After that, the combat record is now available. Now, this is nowhere near the most in-depth combat record we've seen in a Call of Duty game, but at least there is a combat record, so you can check on some very basic stats in the game. We've got a new Customize tab where you can change your loading screens. We've got a proper calling card menu, although I will say the UI is still really frustrating to navigate through. We can at least now see a bunch of calling card challenges and what you need to do to unlock specific calling cards, which is nice, although should have been a launch feature. On top of that, they've added gyro aiming for controllers in the game, so you can check that out in your settings. So that allows you to actually tilt your controller a little bit to make fine adjustments with your aim. And it seems like a lot of people like that in other games. I've never really played around with it much, but I might give it a shot here. On a similar note to that, something that wasn't mentioned in the patch notes, but a lot of people are claiming they feel a difference here, and honestly, I kind of agree with them, and I was feeling this before I saw it from anyone else. It really feels like they've toned down the aim assist at least a little bit in the game. Now, just to be clear though, I can't confirm that that actually happened, it just feels like that's the case, and it seems like many people have noticed this same trend. On top of that, Shoot House is now in the game, and they have retextured Shoot House, but at the end of the day, it's basically the same old Shoot House, although there's currently a pretty big issue in this one area here, where there's an invisible barrier that extends past the corner there, so just be careful with that spot for now. I'm sure they'll get on top of that eventually, but bullets do not pass through that little section right now. Then we also got Tier 1 game modes, which is effectively meant to be a replacement for Hardcore, but it turns out it's not just a name change like we expected. If you enabled Tier 1 in custom games before this update, it was literally just Hardcore, but now there's like no heads-up display elements whatsoever with this apparently. And I've heard you can't even use certain score streaks in this because you can't pull up a monitor or a tablet in order to call those streaks in. So it seems like people aren't particularly happy with the current state of Tier 1. Another thing they did is it looks like they made some adjustments to some of the camos, especially the solid color camos in the game. It looks like they really toned down the vibrance on them and just made them look worse across the board. My guess is this isn't a coincidence at all. This happened at the exact same time that they added the store to the game where they're now selling blueprints and bundles. And I think those solid color camos looked too good and they want people to spend money to make sure they have really good looking guns in the game. On top of this, another thing I noticed in custom games is we now have access to Cyber Attack and Bounty. These are two new game modes, or at least new to Modern Warfare 2. No sign of them yet in public matches, but you can access them in custom games. And on that note of custom games, unfortunately, they eliminated a couple of the custom games options, which is going to make the testing for me quite a bit more difficult now, which is really frustrating, although I'm sure that won't impact many of you guys out there. Then when it comes to some bug fixes, they fixed the drop shot exploit. There were people that were able to basically instantly drop shot. I didn't look into this too much pre-patch, but apparently they have fixed that. They fixed an exploit with the bipod as well. I hadn't even heard of that exploit, but apparently they fixed an exploit with that. And they also fixed incendiary damage over time to make sure that that incendiary damage isn't causing the player to flinch every time one of those ticks applies. After that, they finally added my favorite optic in the game. This is the Slimline Pro, and this is going to be unlocked at level 11 for the Lockman sub. However, what I've noticed is since I already have the Lockman sub maxed out, it's still locked for me, and I can't figure out how to unlock it now. I tried playing a full match with the Lockman sub. I thought maybe if you just play a match with it, then that will automatically unlock it. That wasn't the case, so it looks like some of you guys will have access to that, but many of us won't. After that, there was a little bit of vehicle balancing that they did here. First up, they reduced the critical damage multiplier on the heavy tank from 1.6 down to 1.25. They also reduced the amount of damage that the Pila can deal against tanks from 30 down to 25%. And they reduced vehicle explosive damage against other vehicles, and the percentage will vary based on the vehicle there. They also fixed a bunch of bugs with the vehicles, none of which I'm aware of to begin with, so I'm not even going to go over those. When it comes to maps and multiplayer, they just fixed a ton of bugs and penetration issues and just general exploits with the maps. Nothing really stands out to me as like a major issue from pre-patch to really point out. Honestly, their patch notes are so vague here, I don't know exactly what they changed, but they apparently fixed some bugs on a bunch of the maps. Then when it comes to equipment, they've buffed the drill charge a little bit against riot shield users. Previously, if you stuck a riot shield user with a drill charge and they were at full health and they were also using the bomb squad perk, it wouldn't actually kill them, whereas now it will always kill that player if you stick them with a drill charge, even if they're using bomb squad. As for killstreaks, the cluster mines will now stick to all of the vehicles in the game rather than just bouncing off. And on top of that, the counter UAV got a nerf, or more of a bug fix, honestly. When you have the counter UAV active pre-patch, you were actually getting score when your teammates were dying while you had the counter UAV up, which is backwards. It should only work when your teammates are getting kills. So they've removed that, and it now works as intended. And then finally, let's go over some quality of life changes that they mentioned here. These ones will apply to both multiplayer as well as Warzone and DMZ. The first thing is they mentioned a console field of view slider, which we already had access to, at least for the multiplayer, so I think they're just pointing that out that it's now available for Warzone. Next, something that I'm very disappointed to see for the multiplayer side of things. It looks like they did this because this works the same between multiplayer and Warzone. They've improved footstep audio. And by improved, I just mean they cranked the volume through the roof. So now you don't really need much map awareness or spawn awareness or really anything but a headset. You now have free wall hacks in 6v6 because the maps are quite small. You can hear those footsteps extremely loud and clear through any surface at this point. Also through gunfire, it seems like you can hear footsteps just fine even while you're firing your gun or while somebody's firing a gun right next to your ears. And while I think this level of footstep audio is probably great for Warzone, I haven't had a chance to check out Warzone yet. This is horrible for 6v6 multiplayer, at least in my experience so far. If you're in any form of higher skill lobby, the aggressive flanking playstyle is completely dead now. I mean, they've been trying to kill it off, it seems, with all their other gameplay decisions for a while now, but this was the final nail in the coffin. That playstyle is now dead in higher skilled lobbies. I'm sure you can still do it in like mid to lower skill lobbies where not everybody's got a headset on, but this has really significantly impacted my enjoyment of the game. And while I was having a pretty good time with this game before this update, despite the issues that were present, this alone is really going to push me away, and I honestly feel like I'm just going to be playing this game for content from now on. So don't worry, still going to be breaking stuff down and providing a ton of content for you guys, but in the game's current state, it is not for me. And with that, that's pretty much it when it comes to the Season 1 patch, excluding, of course, those weapon balancing changes. I'll be sure to get that video out as soon as it's possible for me, but I can't make any promises since I currently can't access the things I need to access in order to get that testing done. Personally, at least on the multiplayer side of things, I feel like they broke more than they fixed, and the game is actually worse off after this update, but that is just my opinion, and I'd like to hear what you guys think in the comment section down below. How are you feeling about this Season 1 update so far when it comes to Modern Warfare 2's multiplayer? If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.